I'm going to show you how to put piston rings on an L134 Willys Jeep piston. These are Hastings rings made in the USA. I got these from Kaiser Willys, and this is a new reproduction piston, but an OEM original piston procedure is going to be exactly the same. So first thing you'll notice is that there are several grooves on this piston. The lower one is going to hold your 3 oil rings. Then you have 2 compression rings, and then this top groove, nothing goes in that. It's I think they call it like a heat expansion groove or something. Whatever it is, on the original piston, it will be absolutely packed full of gunk. So you do need to clean that out. You might want to soak it. It's rather hard to clean. But nothing goes in the top groove, and we'll go from there. Make sure when you order your pistons and rings that you know what size you want. This is a standard piston going in a standard bore, so we have standard rings. I'm just going with a hone on this job, but a couple of my pistons, the skirts had a chip out of them, and the rings were all just bad. So sometimes it's easier just to start fresh. So once you get the right size rings, you're going to open the box and avoid the urge to just rip into everything and look at it, because each bag inside here is numbered. So it'll say, 1, 2, 3, or however many rings are on your piston, and shows you the location on the piston. So keep them with their perspective baggie. So here's number 1, that was number 3, number 2, and number 3. So the reason there's 2 bags with number 3s is because the oil ring, the 3rd ring, is a multi-part ring. Inside you'll find some directions. They're rather generic, so don't rely on these too much, but the main thing they're going to tell you is that if there is a dot on the ring, the dot always goes up. Some brands say top or up. These Hastings, the last couple sets I've done, they say, or they have a dot. So the dot would be right here. I'll show you on the other one. If your ring does not have a dot, that means it doesn't matter. It can go either way. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but there is a small dot right there. See a little dot? So that would always go up. Other brands, like I said, you might see the word up. We're going to start with the bottom ring. It's the oil control ring, and you have to put this one in first because there are little notches on there that will accept the other part of this ring. So I just put one side on, and then I just slide my finger around. So by doing it that way, we kind of call it walking it on. You're really not stretching the ring much at all. So up next are these little thin oil rings, so it's the same way here, and I like to put it in one of the compression ring grooves and just walk it along. Then you push on the back side and step it down to the next one, just walk it on. That way you're never really stressing the ring any more than you have to. Now I'm on the bottom groove, and just like that. The next one, same thing, come down into one of the other grooves, and you could put a ring expander on it and or stretch it all the way down, but this is one of those jobs I don't really like to rush. Just take your time, and you're much less likely to have problems. So you notice I'm doing everything from one side of the ring. I don't worry about ring end gap until I'm about to put the piston in the engine, because by the time I set this over there and get everything around and get the ring compressor on, this stuff's going to move around. So just leave it in one spot. I just assemble it, and then before we put the ring compressor on, then we line up our ring end gaps. Next up we have the little baggie that says number 2. So that's this lower compression ring, and this one does have a dot, so we want that dot facing up. See a little dot? So that would always go up. Other brands, like I said, you might see the word up. I don't even have a ring expander. I just use my snap ring pliers. I have a pair of tips that I have kind of filed flat, and that has proved to be just fine for this job. I don't do a ton of top end rebuilds, so for the few times a year that I do this, it works just fine. So the dot is facing up, and you're just expanding this. It's totally fine if it drops into that first groove, and just like that. And once again, I only stretched it as much or as little as needed to get it into the groove. And really, you don't want to scratch the piston. You can see I did a little bit there. Before I put this in, I'll feel around. If there's any burrs, I just take a little piece of emery cloth and file it. So it's not the end of the world, but it's definitely something you want to be careful of. Lastly, we have the bag that says number 1 or top. This ring has no dots and no markings on it, so that means it can go either way. So we just expand it again and drop it into that groove, just like that. So this piston is ready to go. So I'll do another video when we install the pistons in the block, and we'll align the end gaps and worry about the oil squirter and orientation and all those good things. But that's how you put rings on your L134 piston.